In the sun-drenched hills of Galilee, in a small, vibrant village called Cana, a wedding feast was in full swing. The air buzzed with music, laughter, and the joyous clamor of celebration. It was a day of profound significance, not just for the young couple exchanging vows, but for their entire families and the community. A wedding in ancient Judea was more than a mere party. It was a covenant, a public affirmation of new beginnings, and a testament to the hospitality and honor of the host family. Every detail, from the decorations to the abundance of food and drink, spoke volumes about their standing and their respect for their guests. To fail in any aspect was to invite not just disappointment, but deep, enduring shame. Among the many esteemed guests were Jesus of Nazareth and his disciples, invited to partake in the festivities. His mother Mary was also present, her quiet grace moving through the bustling scene. Perhaps she was helping with the preparations, her experienced eye ensuring everything ran smoothly, her heart filled with joy for the young couple. The feast had been going on for some time, the merriment reaching its peak, when a subtle yet chilling whisper began to spread among the servants. A shadow fell over the joyous occasion, a growing dread that threatened to engulf the entire celebration. The wine, the very symbol of joy and abundance at such an event, was running out. In that culture, this was not a minor inconvenience. It was a social catastrophe of monumental proportions. To run out of wine meant the host family was either poor, ill-prepared, or, worst of all, disrespectful of their guests. It was a humiliation that would not only stain their reputation for years, perhaps even generations, but also cast a pall over the newly formed union. The joyous atmosphere was on the brink of collapse, poised to transform into an unbearable silence of shame and embarrassment. The vibrant music would fade, the laughter would cease, and the memory of this day would forever be tainted by a profound failure. Mary, with her keen perception and deep empathy, was one of the first to sense the impending disaster. She saw the furtive glances of the servants, the growing anxiety on the faces of the hosts, and the subtle shift in the festive energy. Her heart ached for the young couple and their families, knowing the crushing weight of public disgrace they were about to endure. She didn't raise her voice or create a scene. Such was not her way. Instead, with a quiet urgency born of both maternal concern and unwavering faith, she sought out her son. She approached Jesus amidst the fading revelry, her gaze conveying the gravity of the situation more eloquently than any words. She simply spoke 5 words, laden with unspoken trust and a profound understanding of who her son truly was. They have no more wine. She didn't instruct him on what to do, nor did she explicitly ask for a miracle. She merely presented the problem to the one she knew, deep in her soul, held the solution. Jesus looked at his mother, his eyes holding a depth of understanding that transcended the immediate crisis. His response, however, seemed at first glance to be a gentle rebuke, almost harsh. "Woman, what does this have to do with me? My hour has not yet come." To anyone else, particularly his newly gathered disciples who overheard, it might have sounded like a refusal, a dismissal of the earthly concern. But Jesus was not dismissing the plight. He was articulating a profound truth about his divine mission. His public ministry, the revelation of his glory, would not be dictated by social crises or human expectations, but by the perfect timing of his Father in heaven. It was a statement about divine sovereignty, not a lack of compassion. Yet, Mary knew her son's heart. She understood the deeper meaning behind his words, recognizing that his compassion was boundless, even if his timing was divine. Her faith remained unshaken, a quiet, resolute flame in the face of apparent refusal. Turning away from Jesus, her gaze fell upon the servants, who were now in a state of barely suppressed panic, their faces etched with despair. With a calm authority that belied the chaos, she gave them an instruction that would echo through the ages, a testament to absolute faith. Do whatever he tells you. 5 simple words. Yet they encapsulated a profound principle of total obedience. Even in the absence of understanding, even when the command seemed illogical or impossible. It was a blueprint for faith, a directive to trust implicitly in the one who held the power to transform. Nearby, standing as silent sentinels, were 6 large stone jars. These were not vessels for wine. They were purification jars, commonly used by the Jews for ritual washing of hands and feet, a practice central to their religious customs. Each jar was massive, capable of holding 20 to 30 gallons of water, a staggering volume. At that moment, they stood empty, their rough stone surfaces reflecting the fading light, seemingly irrelevant to the crisis at hand. Jesus, with a serene gaze, turned to the servants. His first command was as unexpected as it was simple. Fill the jars with water. The servants, still reeling from the wine shortage and Mary's enigmatic instruction, must have exchanged bewildered glances. Water? They might have thought, their minds racing. The guests demand wine, not water for ritual cleansing. The request seemed utterly nonsensical, perhaps even mocking in its apparent irrelevance. Yet, Mary's words, "Do whatever he tells you," resonated in their minds. With a mixture of confusion, trepidation, and a flicker of hope ignited by Mary's unwavering conviction, they began to obey. They fetched buckets, drawing water from the well, and with considerable effort, they began to fill the colossal stone jars. They poured and carried, their muscles straining, until all 6 jars stood filled to the very brim, hundreds of gallons of ordinary water now occupying the vessels meant for purification. The sheer scale of their obedience was remarkable, a silent act of faith in the face of the absurd. Then came Jesus' second command, even more perplexing, even more fraught with potential humiliation. "Now, draw some out and take it to the master of the feast." Imagine the servant chosen for this task. His heart must have pounded in his chest, a cold dread gripping him. He was to take a cup of water, or so he believed, to the master of the feast, the man whose discerning palate was responsible for overseeing the quality of the wine. This was the man who would instantly recognize the deception, the failure, the ultimate insult. The servant could be fired, publicly shamed, perhaps even beaten for such an audacious act. Yet, the memory of Mary's words, the quiet authority of Jesus compelled him forward. He dipped his cup into one of the now full jars, his hand perhaps trembling slightly, and began the terrifying walk towards the master of the feast. A simple cup in his hand, carrying what he believed to be mere water. The master of the feast, a man of considerable experience and a connoisseur of fine wines, took the cup offered to him. He was unaware of the frantic whispers, the desperate measures, or the divine intervention that had just occurred. He simply assumed it was a fresh serving of wine, perhaps from a reserve he hadn't yet tasted. He raised the cup to his lips, his expression one of casual expectation. He took a sip, then another, his eyes widening in disbelief, then in profound astonishment. A complex bouquet of flavors, a richness and depth he had rarely encountered, exploded on his palate. This was no ordinary wine. This was extraordinary, the finest vintage he had ever tasted. He immediately called for the bridegroom, his voice not angry, but filled with genuine amazement. "Everyone brings out the choice wine first," he declared, his voice ringing with admiration, "and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink, and their palates are less discerning. But you—" He paused, his gaze fixed on the bewildered bridegroom, a smile spreading across his face. "You have saved the best wine until now." The words were a testament to unparalleled hospitality, a reversal of all expectations, and an honor that would elevate the family's standing beyond measure. The shame that had loomed so darkly was not merely averted, it was transformed into the highest praise, an unexpected glory. The servant who had carried the cup, along with the other servants who had filled the jars, knew the truth. The disciples, who had witnessed the quiet exchange and the subsequent commands, understood. And Mary, with a serene smile, knew with absolute certainty. The water had not just become wine. It had become the best times wine, a symbol of divine abundance and transcendent quality. The scarcity that had threatened to ruin the celebration was transformed into the most extravagant, overflowing abundance. The impending humiliation was not just avoided, but converted into an unprecedented honor, a story that would be told for generations. The Bible concludes this profound narrative with a simple yet powerful statement. This, the first of his signs, Jesus performed at Cana of Galilee. He revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. It was a moment of profound revelation, a quiet unveiling of the divine power residing within Jesus. His first miracle was not a dramatic healing of a leper or a powerful exorcism of a demon, though those would come. Instead, it was an act of compassionate grace, a saving of a family's joy, a restoration of honor at a wedding feast. It demonstrated that God's concern extends not only to grand spiritual truths, but also to the intimate, everyday joys and sorrows of human life. Where human effort ends, where joy seems to falter, divine glory often begins, transforming the ordinary into the extraordinary, the water of purification into the wine of celebration, and shame into an enduring testament of grace and faith. It was a powerful lesson for his disciples, a foundational moment that solidified their belief, showing them that the Son of God cared deeply for the human experience and possessed the power to transform even the most dire circumstances into moments of divine wonder.